Hello, good morning, and welcome to day 3 of the She Is Me special event, a gathering of healers. This morning, to kick off day 3, is Jodie Solberg. Hi, Jodie.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. Jodie is a founding member of She Is Me, and we are so happy to have her back with us today. And Jodie, let me just get us set up here, and I'm going to exit. Thanks, Jodie. We'll see you later.
Thanks so much, Lisa. All right, everyone. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about how we can embrace our strengths as healers and as people who serve others. And so, first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and my story. And I was growing up, really shy and really quiet, and was really a highly sensitive little girl. Now I know that I'm an intuitive empath. And at the time, they just thought I was so shy, and I really struggled to manage my emotions. I cried a lot, and I really was just somebody who always loved people, but couldn't handle big groups and big crowds and noise. It just was overwhelming to me. I remember there was one time that my aunt and uncle brought all my cousins over, and they were loud and they were jumping on the couch. And I just went to my room and said, can we tell them to leave, please? Because I just couldn't handle all of the ruckus. And so in hindsight, now knowing that is one of my biggest strengths is, being that intuitive empath, I was just overwhelmed. And I always wanted to help people. So growing up, I always knew that I wanted to help others. I was always the person that people came to for advice and for help. And even in high school, for example, I became a peer counselor when one of the other students had passed away. The teachers had asked me if I would sit with some of the students and help them. And I've always had people come up to me and just tell me their life stories and tell me really deep, meaningful things about their lives. But I also have been able to really understand without being told really what was going on, how people felt, and why they felt that way. So I naturally went into a career as a therapist. And as I built my career, as I went through my education and I learned all of the skills to manage my emotions and manage my energy, I was really able to embrace my empathic strength and not see it as a weakness, but see it as a true strength. And I see a lot of people who are looking at those strengths that really are talents, they're gifts that are given to us, and they don't know how to use them. And so they do look at it as a weakness. So, if it goes unchecked and we don't learn how to harness our strengths, then we can mistakenly be resentful of them or try to push them aside. And so today I'm going to help you learn what I did, which is how to identify and really harness and embrace your strengths so that you can serve others, but also serve yourself better. Right? Do a service to both. So I grew up, I was saying, in the Pacific Northwest, and that's where I am today. Beautiful place and really a lot of nature. It's a great place for me to be able to get away and be able to have a sanctuary. And one of the things that I did over the years is I realized that I needed to have a bit of a lifestyle shift. I had moved into the city for many years. I had a very, very busy career. I started off working with kids and families, especially in crisis situations. I work with a lot of women who've been through abuse and their children, right? Going through those abusive marriages and relationships or growing up and still dealing with those things. And then I also, for many years, worked with drug and alcohol offenders. And it was a really rewarding, but also very, very stressful and taxing career because I was working with a lot of court mandated individuals. Now, all of them always wanted to be there. A lot of them liked me, but maybe didn't want to be there. And so it was just not a pleasant situation. and it was very, very draining to me. However, I was able to learn how to set that aside and leave that at the door when I got home. But eventually, I decided that I really wanted to start my own private practice and work from home and be able to embrace my strengths even more. So, be able to help others and at the same time be able to take better care of myself. And so, I ended up moving into the mountains, actually onto what used to be our vacation property, built a beautiful custom home where I have my own nice quiet space to work and where I can choose my my workload. I am able to give myself the tools to feel good, be successful, and give my best to others. And I'm still an introvert. And I'm still that introvert, although I have learned to be able to manage my emotions and to speak in front of others like I am today, whether it's online or it's in a big crowd. I've also learned to be able to manage being in those big social situations. I still have very close, tight knit groups of friends, people who really understand and embrace me and my strengths, and I do the same for them. And I think that's another hallmark of, some of the strengths that I have. Even though I was shy and quiet and emotional growing up, I always had a lot of friends and I always was very inclusive in my friends. I had a very diverse group of friends and I was embraced by all different kinds of groups. And those are some of the other strengths that I'm going to share with you because over the years, I learned that those were my strengths, that some of those things weren't just normal. Sometimes we look at our strengths and we think they're just normal, but they really were specific and unique to me. So my greatest strength, my number one strength has always been being highly empathic. And so being able to really feel others' feelings, to understand why they feel that way, and to be able to relate to them. Now, a lot of women, they are highly empathic, compassionate people, and they're thinking about others first. And so I wanted to highlight some of my strengths just to give you an example. And if you're an empath as well, this is really going to resonate with you. But even if you're not, think about your own strengths. Think about some of the things that you do naturally and really relate it to that and how you can take that greatest strength and turn that into superpower for yourself. And it's really important to be able to look at those things. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to find your strengths. And the first thing is going to be what mine are. And so one of the books that I really love, and there are quizzes online that you can take to help find some of your strengths. And then also there's a book, which is this one here. It's going to be Strength Finders 2.0. It's actually a Gallup book. It's written by Don Clifton. And I took this test online many years ago, and I recognized things that I didn't even realize were my strengths until I took this test and figured out, those are actually what those are. It's just not normal because it's something that I'm used to doing naturally all the time. It really is a strength, and it's something that I could build my life and my career around. And so going through some of my top strengths, of course, we talked about empathy. So that's one of them. I actually have 6 top strengths. 5 and 6 are tied. So the next one is being an includer. So for me personally, like I said, I've always wanted to include others. I wanted to make sure that everybody felt important, that they felt included. I was that person in high school who never really had one clique that I was a part of. I was friends with people from every single group, and I was always embraced by all the different groups. And that was one of those things that really signifies my strength, right, as that includer. Another one is being a learner. I always wanted to learn growing up about other people. I was always interested in how they felt, what they thought, how they lived, what they believed. And so I always wanted to learn everything I could about other people. And of course, that's another reason why I went into social and clinical psychology. I'm now a mental wellness coach and a certified hypnotherapist because I have been embracing those strengths. That's what I do now, working from home virtually. But in my career as a social and clinical psychologist, I was able to learn so much about other people and why we act the way we do and why we think that way and how we're able to change for the better and how we're able to heal from trauma. I help professional women really heal from those past hurts, overcome any blocks, and right, those mental blocks to progress, whether that's overcoming limiting beliefs or changing negative self-talk or changing their self-talk that maybe wasn't even their own voice. Right? If they've been through abuse or trauma, it could be someone else's voice, right? That abuser, for example, really helping them to overcome so many different obstacles in their lives. And as women, we have so many different roles and different areas that we have to navigate through. And so for me, learning how to help people, how to help them get results and get results faster and use my empathic nature to really be able to help others was huge. So for me, education has always been a huge priority. And then another one is responsibility, right? And a sense of commitment, really loyalty and honoring my commitments and feeling a responsibility to use my gifts to help others. It's always been very strongly innate within me. And then self-assurance. I said I was shy, and that I was really quiet and sensitive, but I always had this inner confidence. Even if I had to learn how to be outwardly assertive and have some more of that outward confidence, I always had that inside of me. I always had that sense of self. I had a very, very strong sense of who I was and what I believed. And I was always a very independent thinker. And so for me, that came out with that strength of that self-assurance. And even though I was researching and learning all about other people and how they lived in their lives, for me personally, I always just had a very strong intuition and knew what the right path was and the right decisions were for me. And then that takes me to my last main strength, which is strategy. And so being a very strategic thinker is really, really helpful in combination, right, with all of these other strengths to be able to be empathic, to be intuitive, to really want to learn about others. And in helping others, being able to come up with that strategy to help them to improve their own lives as well as my own. And the assertiveness training that I went through in graduate school was amazing. It changed my life. So did some of the relationships that I had, including with my husband, who I've now been with the entire time that I have been building this career for over 20 years now. And, really building that relationship with him and really seeing his strengths helped me to strengthen myself emotionally and to be more resilient. And so you can surround yourself with people and you can surround yourself with environments that help to build your own strengths, but also their strengths can complement yours. And so finding your strengths is not about comparing yourself. And sometimes people get caught in the trap of wishing they had other people's strengths, right? Looking at their strengths as weaknesses and they're not knowing how to really build upon those and how to embrace them as strengths. And so they'll look at others and say, oh, I wish I was like that, or that strength is so much better. And so I'm going to give you a word of caution. So I teach about strengths a lot. And so my book is tabbed. So I actually have the green are my biggest strengths, the yellow are the middle, and the red are the ones that are at the lowest. However, that might not work for you if you compare, right? If you're going to compare yourself, do not look at anything except for the report that shows your strengths, because I don't want you to fall into that trap of looking at the ones that are on the lowest, right? They're not weaknesses, they're just not your strengths, right? They're someone else's strengths and they're meant to be. I truly believe that we are who we are because we have those special and unique gifts and talents that we're meant to give to the world. And it can feel burdensome sometimes when you don't know how to harness those strengths. But when you really focus on them and building those, instead of focusing on what you think are your weaknesses and trying to bolster those up, you will be so much happier. You will find so much peace, so much more joy and harmony in your life. And then you can look at those things that maybe aren't your strengths and find those other people who complement you so well, right? Your best friends, spouse, partner, mentors, coaches, team, right? And if you have a business, you can hire people that have those strengths. You can surround yourself with people who have other strengths that are different than yours, and you can make a phenomenal team doing that. And so really finding your strengths, you can do that in a few different ways. You can take a quiz, right? You can take that Gallup test from the Strength Finders. You can also think about what other people have said to you about what they think you're good at. Again, a lot of times we'll blow them off and just say, you know what? No, that's just me. That's just who I am. But that's not true. It really is a strength. It's not just normal, right? What you think is easy and what you think just comes naturally to you, a lot of times is a huge strength. Also, tap into that intuition, tap into that inner wisdom, right? Listen, be mindful, sit and think about, when do you feel the best? When do you have the most energy, right? What are the things that you love to do? Right? And then really listen to yourself with your energy levels and your emotions. Don't try to push yourself. We work our best when we're at that highest level of energy, right? That highest vibration of that energy. And so doing what comes really naturally to you and what are your strengths, you're going to be at that highest level, but don't deplete it. Right? Don't push yourself so much that you burn out. That's one of the reasons why I had to make that lifestyle shift. Because again, I had a very, very busy, full, successful business, but it was stressful. And I was working way too many hours with way too many clients. And I was pushing myself past my limits, and I was burning out physically and emotionally, mentally. And so, being really in tune with your strengths also means you need to be in tune with those energy levels so you can be in that flow, and it can guide you in making the right decisions for you. So stop and take a moment, take a breath, and be really mindful about how you're feeling and where you're at so you're not getting so overwhelmed. And then really, once you've identified what those strengths are, when you're at your best, what other people are seeing, ask those people close to you, what do you think my strengths are? Or maybe you do look at that objective test. Sometimes it's good to look at it from that outside objective perspective because it is hard to see our own gifts and our own talents and our own strengths. So once you've identified those, cultivate them. Build them up, incorporate them into your life and your work. And that's one of the things that I always knew is what I wanted to do for a living, but I had to find different ways, right? It took me time to figure out what the best way to serve others and to serve myself was. And so begin to incorporate those things into your life. Now having my own virtual private practice, being able to do therapy with people virtually and then take the breaks in between each and every client to be able to work from home and have my quiet space and to be able to look out at the view or go out into nature and really reset and recharge. That's how I took my gifts and my skills, and I'm able to really give them at my best level because I built my work and I built my life around being able to do that. Again, you're just going to have so much more fulfillment, be so much happier, and so much less stressed when you can do that. So, harness, right? Harness your power. Learn how to manage your emotions. Emotional management is managing, right? Managing your emotions, being able to have that resilience, that emotional strength, that bounce back ability, being able to understand your feelings as well as others. And it's not just about giving to others all of the time. And, emotions are a huge part of our lives. And so learning how to manage those, especially if you're an empath as well, is so important. And so it's not just interactions with people, it can be things like news, it can be noises, right? What you're watching on the television, what you're reading online. It can be so many things. It can exhaust us, right? It can really drain. And so being really careful to guard your emotions and to guard your energy, to be able to manage that in a really, really positive way. That's something that is really important to me to teach my clients is emotional empowerment and emotional intelligence. Being able to really be aware, right? Awareness is the first step. Awareness is one of the keys to everything, is that mindfulness and that awareness. And prioritizing self-care helps you harness whatever your superpower is, if it's being an empath or it's something completely different, right? We have to be able to manage our energy and those emotions. And how you do that is through the self-care. You take care of yourself. As women, again, we play so many roles. So we're giving, giving, giving all day to so many other people. We need to learn how to give to ourselves so that we're giving others the overflow. And so, we want to go with the flow, right? But we don't want to let the waves carry us away. So here are some tips to help you to manage your emotions in a healthy way. Again, whether you're an empath like me or not, we all need to learn the skill of managing our emotions and feeling like we have more control over them. So empaths, for example, tend to take on that energy, right, that's around them. People are drawn to you. They're going to tell you their stories. They are going to want your time because you really attract them and they want to tell you what's going on in their lives and they want to share with that. But it's important to really guard that and be intentional about when you let people in and when you rest and recharge and are able to take the time alone for yourself. It's really important to know when you're at your best. And so think about that and maybe take some time to look at when are the times that you're at your highest energy and when are the times that you're lower. And then I have to look at the top 10 influences around you. And I say influences, and sometimes I'll have clients who will tell me, well, I'm around that person all the time, or I watch that show, but it's not an influence. And that is not true. Anything that you spend time around is an influence. So whether that's a person, whether that's a show, whether that's a podcast, whether that's someone you follow on social media, whatever it is. So it could just be social media outlets in general, or it could be specific ones. You could feel different on Instagram than you do on Facebook, for example, right? It could be a different energy for you. So look at those top 10 influences, things you spend the most time with and around, and rate them. Put a plus sign next to it if it makes you feel better. Higher energy, higher vibe, better about yourself and your situation in the world. Put an equal sign if it doesn't change anything, right? It doesn't tap you out, but it doesn't add to it either. And put a negative next to it if it drains you, right? If it takes that energy away. For example, one of the things that I had to do was change my homepage. on my computer, because whenever I would go to it, I had to change it to just plain Google, because whenever I would go to the homepage, there would be death and destruction all over. And, you get sucked into the stories, and it would just make me emotional, right? It would upset me. And now I'm like, okay, there's a time and a place for that. But I know personally I have to read my news versus listen to it, because I hear the emotion that people are putting into it, on television, for example, right? It's very interesting to pay attention to where your energy is going. Okay, so really look at that. The next thing you can do is find an outlet to get those emotions out, to process those. So for you, it could be journaling, it could be art, it could be creating something, finding support, like somebody like me who, a coach or a therapist, or, other like-minded individuals. It could be a group program, it could be one-to-one, but finding some kind of outside support, I think, is so crucial, because we need to heal and release our old emotions that we may still be holding on to. I call them the weeds. Right? The weeds are the things that keep popping up over and over and over again. It's like they keep popping up and then you mow them over, right? You're like, okay, I dealt with it. But then they pop back up again and then you mow them back up down again, right? If they keep popping up for you, it's a sign that you haven't healed that you haven't pulled it out by the root, healed that area, and moved on yet. And so finding a way, finding a process, finding someone that can help you to do that is so important. You have to have ways, it could be exercise, could be, maybe you're a runner, but finding ways to release stress and tension and process through those emotions is so important, because otherwise they hold you back and they can weigh you down. They can really stifle your energy. And so, having somebody, what I call is from outside the snow globe. Think about a snow globe, right? It has you flip it upside down, it has a little blizzard inside. Well, when you're inside the snow globe, it's hard to see outside of it. So I think having some things that you can do on your own, but also finding that outside method of support, somebody who isn't on the inside of the snow globe, that doesn't have judgment or a vested interest in you making one decision or another, or isn't going to have their feelings hurt when you need to vent. Right? Somebody who can really help you process through those things is also important. So I like to have that two-pronged approach, to have something that you do for yourself to process, but then also having some kind of outside support. And then another step that you can take is really taking personal responsibility for your emotions and learning to build up that strength and that resilience. It's up to you. You're the one who's in control of that. Now, we can't control what goes on outside of us, what other people do or say, what happens in the world. There's a lot we can't control, but one of the things you can is you can take personal responsibility and you can start to take action to improve your mindset, to improve what's going on, right, in your mind and in your emotions and with your energy. And to change that, you really can. You can look at every experience as an opportunity to learn from it, to grow, to become better, right, to improve. So taking each thing that happens and not looking at it black and white as good or bad, not having that fixed mindset of, it's just this or it's that, looking at it as, whether it was good, bad, or ugly, like, what is the lesson that I can learn from this? And how can I have that help me to respond better, if it's something that you can't control, right? Or to do things a little bit differently, right? To make some adjustments for the future. Responding versus reacting, taking a moment, taking a pause, and really choosing how to respond. That's another great way to really begin to increase that emotional strength and that resilience. Right? You alone are the one that can control that. No one else can make you feel a certain way. But if we keep just reacting in the same way that we always have, you're going to keep getting the same results. And so if you can choose to stop and pause and respond to the situation and maybe respond a little differently, think ahead, right? It's going to help change those results for the better. And then you can look at being an empath or whatever your strengths are as more of a blessing and not a curse, because you're able to live and work in them and strengthen yourself so that you can take those things on and then you can release them better. And then, looking at that outside perspective, right? That's that last one. Look at the patterns. Try to step back yourself when you're doing that journaling or you're doing that reflective time. Right? When you're being more mindful, you can actually start to see patterns and you can start to see triggers. So then you can see them coming. And the moment you start feeling like your energy is getting depleted, or the moment you start feeling like things are getting out of control, you can stop it before it happens, right? You can see, so you can avoid those pitfalls. So start writing those things down. When you get in those little arguments or you're becoming short because your energy is getting low, right? You're getting frustrated. Write those things down, look for those patterns, look for those triggers, and take those lessons from the past and actually use them to make the change. Right? If we don't make those changes and we don't learn and grow from those lessons, what happens is we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again until we do. And make sure not to judge yourself, right? Give yourself lots of grace. Focus on what you can control versus what you can't. Release the past. Really focus on the present. If you're saying, well, I didn't do this in the past, and you're beating yourself up about it, it does nothing for you in the present, and it surely isn't going to affect your future in a positive way. So absolutely make sure that you give yourself grace and kindness. Right? We need to accept we're not always going to make the right decisions. We are going to screw up royally sometimes. But if we understand that, that failure or those mistakes are just part of the process of becoming successful, that's how we get into that growth mindset, and that's how we learn. So I love that quote. All right. So before I was able to really recognize and embrace my strengths, I knew what I wanted to do in life. Not everybody does. That's another amazing thing about really honing in on your strengths, is it can help you really clarify what you want to do. Now, I knew what I wanted and I knew how I wanted to help people, but I was really challenged for a very long time in really defining my mission, defining like that vision of how I was going to help others, and really getting clarity around that purpose, and not just be giving and giving and giving and giving everything that I had without keeping anything for myself, right? That wasn't the vision. It was to have a lifestyle, right? And I didn't have that for a long time. I didn't realize that. I was just doing, and I wasn't pausing to be really mindful and think about how I could do both, how I could have the lifestyle and take really good care of myself, have the good mental and physical and emotional health myself while I was helping others with theirs. Right? I overworked to that point of exhaustion and chronic burnout. And I knew that I had skills and talents, but I was just spread too thin. I couldn't really harness them. I couldn't really use them at their most optimal level because I wasn't embracing them and I wasn't using them as the superpowers that they truly are. And I wasn't using them in conjunction with each other. And sometimes it was a little disjointed. So as I began to discover and embrace all of my strengths, it really gave me that clarity. It helped me to increase my outward confidence, to be more assertive, to set better boundaries, which were huge, right? That was pivotal in me being able to then manage my emotions, manage my energy, really have that great lifestyle of having that work life harmony and heal from burnout as well as prevent it in the future. And so, building my life and building my career, my practice around my strengths has allowed me to help others in such a deeper way. Right? And I was able to really hone in on who I was supposed to help. Because sometimes we think, well, I can help everyone, but you really can't. Right? And figuring out what your strengths are and beginning to work in them and really being mindful, like I was mentioning earlier, about when you're at your best energy and who you love to help most and what you love to do and what's the most rewarding for you and what keeps your energy at that highest level. It's really going to help you hone in on who you best serve while also serving yourself. And so, again, support. I cannot say that enough. Really focusing on that growth means connecting with other people who can help you, other growth oriented people. You're here today. That's why you're here. You're surrounding yourself with these good, positive, high vibe messages and other people who are also focused on healing and focused on growth and focused on serving and helping others. It's a great place to be. So having that support is huge. Then don't forget the mindfulness piece, right? Live in the present moment, whether you do this through meditation or through, hypnotherapy, like what I do. I have guided hypnosis recordings that people can do, for example, or you listen to guided meditations, or you just do your own quiet time, or you or connect with nature, whatever is the best for you. And of course, I like to have different approaches, but figure out how to be still, how to be quiet so that you can tap into your inner wisdom and intuition. When we're go, go, go all the time and things are too busy, we can't listen. We can't hear it. And so a lot of times that's what happens. That's what happened with me is my, inner wisdom was saying, slow down. And I wasn't listening. And so then my body started making me slow down, because if you don't listen, it will get louder and louder and louder until you cannot stop it, right? Until it stops you instead. And so really listen about managing your energy, when you need to take breaks, when you need to rest and recharge. For me, because I do have such an emotionally charged business and career in my practice, in between clients, I have a break in between every single one that's long enough for me to take care of myself, for me to have some quiet moments, for me to take some deep breaths, for me to hydrate myself, go take a walk, whatever I need to do to rest and recharge. So notice how you feel when you're working in your strengths and do what feels right to you. If you are having one of those days and you're like, you know what, it's just, I had one of those yesterday. The universe was telling me I needed to stay home because I was stressed about trying to get everything done and fit everything in. And I had all these appointments and I kept getting all of these signs that I needed to just stop and have a quiet day and be by myself and prepare so that I wasn't stressed and I wasn't running anymore. And I listened. And I'm so glad I did. Absolutely. I rescheduled all those things and it worked out just fine. And then again, self-care, so important as healers of any kind, whatever your strengths are. So important. We have to take care of ourselves. And you want to fill up your own cup. Always hear about fill your cup, right? Well, I want you to fill it so much that it's overflowing. And what you give to others is that overflow. Instead of depleting it, and you're, like taking your cup, I have mine right here, right? And you're like pouring it out and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving. And then you have nothing left for yourself at the end of the day. You should fill it up so much that it's overflowing. You give others the overflow and then it's still full just for you by the end of that day. So you are not feeling exhausted and anxious and stressed, and that you really can have the best to be able to give to others and the best to be able to give to yourself and the people that you love at the end of the day. So I want to say thank you so much for being here with me today. We are going to put on the screen here, you're going to have the link to be able to download my positive change journal. This is going to help you just be a tool to support you through identifying those strengths. Use it as a journal to figure out what those strengths are and how you can build them up and how you can make those positive changes, build your emotional strength, your resiliency to really be able to turn those strengths and harness them into your own superpower. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate you being here today, prioritizing yourself, and wishing you all of the best.
Hi, Jodie. Thank you.
Hi, Lisa. You're so welcome. I really hope that that served and supported everyone out there. And I just want to say thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to go download that journal too.
Yes. Oh my, it's great. It's digital. So the nice thing is you can print it out. You can, use it on online if you want to. I just think that, really paying attention and putting things down. I know you believe in the power of journaling. I don't have to tell you, but getting it out of your head is so important.
It is.
Because when you get it out of your mind and you get it down on paper, it's much more manageable.
It's one of my go-to release rituals is writing it down. And I like to burn. I'm an Aries, so I'm a fire sign, and I love to burn things. So I have a fire pit in the backyard, and when we have retreats over here, we do the same sort of ritual, and we throw everything in. We build a big fire, we throw everything into the fire. But I do that. I think my neighbors think I'm a little loony because I'm back there burning things often, like standing over doing rituals and burning things in the fire.
I'm in the country, so people burn stuff all the time. So I just think that's so cathartic and so great because it's releasing it, right? Putting it all down and releasing. Now, you won't be surprised at all that probably from the strengths that I shared that I'm a Libra.
Right.
Everything, has to be fair, has to be equal, got to include all the people. So, yeah, absolutely. And that is a huge piece of it too, is recognizing and embracing who you are.
Right.
And looking at that and saying, this is me and being proud of it. And we are all so unique, and that's a good thing. We don't.
And I think that's the work of this age, right? Of coming into this age is getting away from the belief that you'll be rescued somehow, somewhere out there by something, and believing more in yourself and the fact that you are here. Everyone on this planet is completely different, unique in their own way, and here for a reason. And your reason is just for you, and it is, everything about you is so special and so amazing because there is no one else on this entire planet. 8 billion humans, only humans in the universe that we know of, and in the well-known universe, right, that we know of, but no one else has everything that you have, the way you are put together. And so you are completely unique and amazing and wonderful and special. And if you can believe that, and I think that's part of our mission here, if you can believe that, then you're unstoppable, right? You just find your power and you are unstoppable. And that doesn't mean you have to take over the world or conquer the world, but it means that you just to get to believe in yourself and you get to be the best you that you possibly can, whether it's raising your kids or growing herbs or, it doesn't matter, flying airplanes. It doesn't matter what it is. You just get to know that you wake up every morning and you're happy that you're you and that you get to do you 100%.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Yes. Love that. It's so important. And that's why I wanted to talk about embracing strengths today, because everyone needs to figure out what those unique gifts and talents are and really embrace them and use them, because you get this life. And that's, what we're here for, is to figure out why, what's that purpose for us. And when you can wake up every day and be really grateful and happy for who you are and how you can serve others and also be able to take care of yourself at the same time, I think that's so powerful.
Right. And you can You can do all the things you want to do and be all the things you want to be and
Mhm.
still be of service. So you don't have to pick one or the other. You
Mm-mm.
can still, like, so many people think I have to be of service, so I go last. I don't have time for me because I'm so busy being of service because that's what's required of me. Not true. Because, like,
No.
you actually said that. You have to fill up your cup. You have to be in you 100% fully present and powerful in order to give others what you really want to give them and what they really need from you. So, if that's your purpose to be of service, then it's important that you focus on you first and foremost and that you do know your strengths. And it's so many people. I I have to tell you, I read this thing on Instagram the other day. Somebody posted, and it was a list of things that people get embarrassed about. And every single thing on that list, and there were probably 60 things on the list, were normal, everyday things. Carrying an umbrella. I mean, why would you be embarrassed about carrying an umbrella?
Okay.
Or going to meet a friend somewhere and then they're not there yet. So you're sitting there
Sitting
by
by
yourself.
yourself. Okay.
Why would you be embarrassed? I couldn't get it because I don't have any of the I guess I've done the work and I don't
Yeah.
have those feelings. So I was astounded that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of comments and, like, yes, I relate to this and that, whatever. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, all these people
Hmm.
who don't feel comfortable in themselves."
Yeah.
You
Those little
know, it
inner
was just
insecurities, and
yeah,
yeah, and it's just heartbreaking. And that's why we're here. That's why we're helping others. But we do
yeah,
have to help ourselves. And you cannot give what you don't have.
right,
And so if you don't have energy, you're not going to give your best energy. If
right.
you don't have that assurance for yourself, you're not going to be able to give it to other people either.
And I see it all the time, and I love one of the shows I love is, Queer Eye because they always help so many
Mhm.
people, and it's such a way to raise your vibration when you watch them because 'cause
Yes.
they're all so happy and crazy, and they have so much fun, and they really enjoy, helping others,
Mhm.
but every it seems like every single person that they help, the person gets nominated because they help so many, but they never help
Yes.
themselves, and that's the common
Absolutely.
theme, right? And they keep going back to that, and they keep going back to the fact that, you know, it doesn't have to be this or that. You can do all kinds of things and be super happy
Mhm.
and and take care of yourself and you can be happy on your own doing your own stuff and still be of service. So it's
Yes.
very you need to know that, right? You need to know that more than anything. It's okay to have your own life and your own self-care routines and your own
Mhm.
space and your own time and your own retreat and your own celebrations for you and still be of service to others. It doesn't have to be black or white. So
No, you have to
really,
have both in order to give people, the best that you can. You have to have both, in my mind,
right,
because you're not at that highest vibration. You're not in your highest energy. You're not able to give everything if you're not doing that. And having boundaries around those things, to me, is
correct.
so important, that you have the times that you're on and you have the times that you're off, and that you have times just for you to do the rest and recharge, whether you're, you know introverted like me, so you need to do that by yourself, or you need to do more of the, family time and social time that's just whatever it is, just for you. You have to have that. You
Absolutely.
can't just always sacrifice yourself. That's not what our lives are for. They're not to sacrifice our whole lives just for other people. We don't need to be martyrs. We can actually be our own heroes as well as other people's.
Perfect. Thank you, Jody, and I will see you later at the roundtable.
Sounds good. I will see you then.
All right. Thank you.